Welcome to another episode of The Future Fast, where we are speaking to Sam Tayan, the Managing Director of Zoom for Middle East and Africa. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much indeed. Great to meet you.
Tell us about the rollout of Zoom in South Africa in terms of the new offerings you are bringing to the market.
Absolutely. Well, we see South Africa and the surrounding region as a very exciting market for Zoom. Obviously, South Africa has got a formidable reputation in terms of the heritage of the use and deployment of technology and technology solutions. A great market with some fantastic individuals within it.
What has been the uptake of Zoom during the past 2 years, where we've seen this massive global explosion in its use?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned the fact, so basically we can sort of split it into three phases in the MENA. So prior to the pandemic, Zoom was doing very well indeed. It was growing very quickly, obviously profitably as well. And during the pandemic, that really went on steroids. So that growth was turbocharged in a way that many of us are quite familiar with, as Zooming became a verb. Since the end of 2021, we've continued to see growth, and we've continued to grow our customers in South Africa, with many customers, many users continuing to develop and enhance their use of Zoom.
And what's been the experience across the rest of Africa?
Very good indeed also. I mean, certainly the use case during 2020 and 2021 was headlined in terms of, how it related to lockdowns and things like that. But there are many applications of Zoom which are particularly well suited to the African continent in general. Whether it be bridging geographical distances, so colleagues, patients and doctors, students and their teachers who might live far apart, being able to communicate with each other, continue their activities. In addition, obviously there's an ecological benefit. You don't have to drive. I mean, I don't need to tell you, I believe you live in Johannesburg, which is a wonderful city, but from time to time the traffic is challenging, as it is in many cities around the world. And the ability to conduct meetings, catch up with people, sustain productivity while avoiding that 5 o'clock traffic often, just to get to see the last meeting of the day, is something that people do appreciate.
Definitely. Let's get into specifics. The media event that Zoom hosted in Johannesburg, in fact, the first Zoom media event in Johannesburg, raised a lot of issues, or rather questions, around new products or existing products that most people had never heard of. Can you tell us a little more about products that are being offered now through the channel in South Africa to businesses?
Yes, well, certainly this platform which we're on at the moment is Zoom Meetings. So, that is of course available from Zoom, from our channel partners also in South Africa. In addition, we have the webinar platform and the meetings platform, which were actually the platforms used for that event, in order to allow a wider audience to participate and watch the event as it happened, those who were not there in person. And in addition, we have another product which is called Zoom Phone, which is related to the others. It's related to meetings, which provides more of a telephony type experience. You can dial numbers and so on. Tell
us more about Zoom Phone. That came as a bit of a surprise to many of the media in attendance.
Well, I'm glad I'm glad you bring that up. I mean, Zoom Phone is our cloud telephony product, if you want to call it that. It's the UCaaS continuation of the UCaaS story for Zoom. So it's a unified communications product. gives you great flexibility, fabulous features, and in simple terms, gives you many of the benefits of Zoom within a UCaaS platform. So you can, make calls, receive calls. It's very much a business-orientated product, but it is available in South Africa, yes.
And who do you expect to be using it, and for what primary purposes?
So certainly SMBs, medium-sized businesses, and larger enterprises. So it really spans the range of different types of business. We do have, obviously, customers within South Africa using and considering using this product at the moment. But it's, I think we've got some stats. I have to admit my memory fails me, but we got some publicly available stats which you can look up. It's a really very fast-growing platform.
And can you talk about the actual use cases where it will be most in demand?
So in your classical business UCaaS, so it's in your classic business telephony environment. So, in layman's terms, when you'd be normally using a PABX, physical phones in your office, extensions, et cetera, et cetera. So that whole environment, and again, it really spans from very large companies with large PABX, if I call it that, setups, to even, small micro enterprises, SMBs as well. So you can replace your PABX with Zoom Phone, very cost effective, very flexible in terms of its usage. Other use cases include hotels. Hotels have obviously big PABXs, if you like. All the rooms get extensions, often multiple phones in each room. That would be a use case as well. So there are many.
Let's get down to strategy and the expectations and intentions of Zoom in South Africa, but also across the region, Africa and Middle East. Do you expect further growth or more consolidation of the growth that you've seen over the past 2 years?
So I think, as you've probably seen in the results that we've announced to date, we have continued to grow. So, from our perspective, what we try to do is to be as customer-centric as possible. So to listen carefully to what our customers need, work closely with them, and that produces the best results. Right.
And are there particular segments where you expect the most significant growth?
So, I mean, it varies, but I mean, key segments for us, not in any particular order, are obviously education, healthcare, enterprise, and so on. These are the key. Zoom is quite a noticeable product, if you like. So I think you do see in your day-to-day business, more and more people using Zoom. We've got some great use cases. I'll give you an example. In banking. So, again, it's one of those things which I think some of us will, used to find a little bit tedious, where you have to go pop down the bank to do things, or to talk to a mortgage advisor or so on. A lot of these things are going by the way of Zoom meetings instead. And also smart government. So, government and public sector services. We've seen in different parts of the region that I cover, things like notary services, car registration services, and so on, all done via Zoom.
Right. Let's talk about the challenges facing Zoom now. And I guess this is the more difficult question, because it's not really a public relations matter, but more the fact that coming out of the pandemic and people now having a wide range of choices, and your competitors all also upping their game. How are you responding to those kind of challenges, or what is the extent of the challenge that you see?
I think, first of all, we're very focused. So we're a company who's particularly focused on, what you see, our video-first strategy and platform. So we're particularly focused on that. In addition, we are particularly attuned and careful in making sure that we listen carefully to our customers and our prospects as well, to listen to their feedback in order to be continuously optimizing what we do with them in mind. And obviously, you've seen over the past several months, in fact years, but certainly several months as well, a continuous rollout of improvements to the product, again, bearing in mind what we hear, what we gather in our daily interaction with our customers.
I was fascinated to see the cycle or circle of services that you offer, but it also raised a few questions about what may be next and what would complement the platform. So, for example, in the communications sphere, the only element that appears to be missing there, or the opportunity that presents itself there, is a social media platform. Is there any intention to venture into that space?
So yeah, I mean, you saw basically the range of products and services that we have, and that covers quite a wide range. Whether it be in large events platforms, whether it be meetings platforms, whether it be UCAS platforms. We also have now a contact center offering, which we've recently announced. So that's where really the focus is in terms of improving and extending what we offer.
Well, let's get into the contact center offering, because that also comes as a surprise to many people who aren't watching Zoom closely, that you are now providing a service to contact centers. Can you drill down into that for us, the strategic intention as well as how it would work in practice?
So as we mentioned during the event, there is a contact center product which was recently announced. So it's a relatively new product comparatively. And that's going to continue to, to develop as we move along. It's relatively new. So you're quite right in saying that there are, some in the general market, people maybe not as aware, but I mean, that's to some degree normal when something is relatively new. And I think it's a watch this space. The messaging and the product itself, you'll be hearing a lot more about.
I always like the phrase "watch this space" because it suggests a lot more to come. What else can we expect from Zoom in the coming year or two?
I think you're going to see more of the same. Plus, so we're going to continue in more of the same, meaning that we're going to continue to do what we feel is really important, which is, again, sitting, listening, working with our customers, working on the use cases. We've got some really excellent customers in this region, for example, in the business of tutoring, just as an example. So within the education space, one of the things, and I mentioned this during my talk a little bit earlier on, one of the things which many parents do in order to enhance maybe some aspects of their children's education is they sometimes dip into the world of tutoring. So they'll get a tutor to help their children with their homework, or maybe to learn a subject which is not available at school, or maybe to enhance their learning of a subject. Tutoring was always a challenging thing because, first of all, the tutor themselves who may have to come around to your house. It's often at dinner time, so they're sat on the dining room table. Not ideal, not super convenient. A lot of online tutoring platforms in this region are now based on Zoom. And that basically means that, first of all, it removes the inconvenience. So your child can learn remotely with a tutor who can stay in their home as well, making it more economically viable. And in addition, you can also reach out potentially to do things like to learn languages from teachers and tutors who are in their host countries or in their home countries. Again, offering more opportunities. If I wanted to take an hour's Japanese class a week, there may be limited Japanese teachers in the area that I live. But all of a sudden, online tutoring changes that aspect. And I think a lot of people have noted that, it's great to get kids back into school, and it most certainly is. particularly younger children, for that social interaction. But tutoring, as an example, was always something which happened more or less one-to-one and often within homes. And it greatly benefits, and it really changes the landscape in terms of learning of that particular part of education.
Sounds fascinating, but it also raises a further question, which is, can we expect automatic translation on the fly during Zoom meetings when people are talking in different languages in future?
Well, I mean, there are some aspects which are within the current product. So we do have, for example, some capabilities within Zoom meetings in that respect. So whether it be subtitles, whether it be translation, and so on and so forth. So there are capabilities. Again, I think some of them are publicly available. I won't stretch my memory and give you every single language which is there, but there are some, yes.
So we can expect to see that evolving over time.
So there is information available on that. As I said, now you're starting to stretch my memory at this time of the morning, but yes, there is some publicly available information.
It really comes down to watch this space. Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you very much indeed. Great speaking.
Likewise.